Okay, so to recap, before I started dating the alcoholic, in the vampiric version of my Animus, I would like to describe that a little bit more. I think it needs a little more meat on it. So around this time, Bram Stoker's Dracula came out. Around the time I first got in touch with my Animus. And there's some kind of magic in that movie. There's some kind of hook or trigger in that movie that made me think of it in very esoteric ways. The shadow was heavy in that movie and present. Thank you, Gary Oldman. Bram Stoker's Dracula became more of what I saw my Animus as, which I think was a good thing, because before he was not refined and really icky and more of an Nosferatu. And at this point, he was more like, well, I'm British, I'm Victorian, I'm cool, I'm a prince from Transylvania. So there was some more slickness to it and dapper, debonair. Yeah, more of an intellectualness to it. I could relate to it more, I could talk to it. And I dreamt about it often asking the vampire if he could be faithful, if he could be loving, if it could be forever, you know, that romantic dream. And always in the dreams, when I asked him these kinds of questions, other women would show up and say, he promised me the world and now I am in sorrow, warning me like his bride, saying, oh no, don't do it. And he was pretty honest, usually saying, I am what I am, I do what I do. So I never really gave over to that, because I never wanted that. I was aware enough in the dreams to ask, because I wasn't ready to just give. So that shows that strength had been built at that point, that I was able to say, no, that doesn't sound like any fun at all, thank you very much. And with that rejection, he began to change even more to the morose, depressed, repressed character. And so I do believe I did go through a period where I repressed my negative animus, because I had pigeonholed it, I put it in a box, I said, that's what you are, I defined it. I worked with it actively in meditation, through speaking to it, through dreams, through getting guidance through dreams. I worked with it in relationships, because I knew what you fed it, it became. So I really stepped back from my relationships and started looking at them as learning. I was in karmic relationships. I was in relationships to learn. It was school. It wasn't about the romantic fall in love, get married on the beach kind of thing. It was about, this is hard work and I want to get through it. So I engaged my animus, and I tried to find where the congruencies were between my attitudes toward men and my attitudes toward my boyfriend, and his attitudes toward women, and where those came from. The whole nine. I had to know my psychology and his psychology to be able to make sense of it all, and kind of put it into the analytical calculator that if he grew up repressed and I grew up to be dominant, let's say, we would have that dynamic. And I started fighting against the dynamic, like we all do when we're waking up. And in the way I chose to fight against the dynamic, I'm sure at first was just fighting. But then I became aware of the wait, I'm just engaging more with my animus in a negative way. I need to do it in a positive way. And I think that's why I repressed it altogether, the animus, and started working with the feminine, my own psychology, and healing my own psychology. I was really working with my animus actively and being able to look things up on the internet. And then I still had guidance dreams as I was in relationships. So this would have been when I was around 25. And I went to sleep one night really thinking about it. In the dream, I woke up in the morning and my shower was on. I was like, there's no one here. I live alone. Who's in my shower? And I went in there, and behind the plastic curtain, I could see a masculine form. I was like, huh, So I went and I opened the shower, and it was Marilyn Manson. He was bloody. It looked like he'd been through a battle. Real slimy and gross and wounded, just very wounded. And his eyeliner was all runny. Instead of being freaked out or scared, I felt compassion for him, because what I saw most was not his fearsome appearance, it was his wounds. I was like, oh my gosh, you poor baby, what did they do to you? And so I got in the shower with him, and I started healing his wounds, and woke up shortly after that. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm healing my inner Marilyn Manson. So the form my Animus took in the shower that day was very vibrant, very brilliant, very in your face. And I understood a great teaching at that point, that we must have compassion for suffering, and especially our own suffering. There is much more to this story. I feel the Marilyn Manson dream was the beginning of the deeper healing, the more spiritual healing of my inner male, though that was not the end of the journey, by any means. My Animus became a butterfly, and I'll speak on that in a future video. Thank you for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. Blessings, and namaste.